It's not often you have the windshield out. You got to clean up that area. All right, how you guys doing? Welcome back. Let's catch you up on the 62 C10 project. The last video I installed the speaker brackets, but I'm obviously a long ways from putting the stereo equipment in, as I mentioned. I'm trying to get this cab buttoned up. I've been doing some body work since we last spent some time together, and the truck needs a little bit of body work because I want to make the interior nice. That's where I'm sitting, driving, enjoying the truck. I want it to look a little nice inside. It's not going to be, still not going to be show stuff, but it'll be clean. New seat covers, new carpet, new steering column, steering wheel, the stereo system. I'm going to paint the dash nice, paint the whole interior like that cranberry red. The seat will be red. Everything else will be cranberry inside or maroon. And the outside is going to be like an almond or an off-white color, kind of like what's on the hood. So I'm actually trying to find the color to match that hood. I think the code is, color code is 726. And it's called like cameo white or something like that. But anyway, this video, we're gonna button up the cab a little bit, do a little bit of body work. Let's get into this 62 C10. Stay tuned. All right, since the last video, I did quite a bit of body work in here. I'll show you that in a minute. I bolted my transmission cover back on. I put some air conditioning tape, basically like a 1/4-inch roll of air conditioning tape we had. I put it all the way around the perimeter and then bolted it down. I got my gas pedal studs in. Of course, I found out my gas pedal doesn't fit the stock stud locations. It's a gas pedal from a different vehicle, probably a later model pickup, I'm guessing. So I am going to have to get a 62 C10 gas pedal, but that's not too bad. If that's the biggest concern I have, I'm golden. I also have brackets for the seat belts. I'm going to put 3-way seat belts in this thing with retractable seat belts, so it's safe. I might mess with that a little bit today, but we'll see. Let's show you what we did on the body work. All right, you guys remember I made patch panels in about 8-inch pieces all the way around. The whole headliner was rotted away. And I found out afterwards this panel was available, so I could have saved myself some time. In any event, it was already done by the time I realized they only make the panel for 64 to 66. The only difference is the way the windshield's shaped, so up to the visors it was the same. Live and learn, right? No big deal. I actually found that out from Gibson 63. So I've done my filler work. You know, the panels are all a little bit cattywampus. They weren't terribly straight. I didn't spend any more time than I needed to get them close. A little skimmed body filler. I sanded it with 40 grit up with the DA, got it close. Now I've put a coat of filler primer. I'm going to put a second coat of filler primer on it. And then I'm going to block sand it a little bit with some 220, maybe 180, depending on how quickly it's going with 220. Like I keep saying, it's not going to be a show truck. I just want it to look nice inside. I'll sand it however finely I need to get it to look smooth, but not so fine that it takes days to sand. Most of the time you'd sand it with 220 and then 400 and then 800 or whatever kind of crazy stuff they do with show trucks. Those days are over for me. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to feel suicidal when I get a door ding or something, you know. I think that's where a lot of people are nowadays. That's why this patina has gotten popular. It's less expensive to maintain and own. It's not as scary to take the vehicle somewhere and worry about a ding or a scratch. But the interior is one thing where you go a little bit further. I've already painted around the dome light. If you guys haven't seen, I installed the dome light and I painted the color the interior is going to be around the area before I installed it. So now I can tape it off. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I got to make sure I don't get paint on the chrome bezel, and that's about it. But that's the interior it'll all be. So let's get the sanding. I'm going to put another coat of primer, and I will try to get this thing in good shape. Then we'll start working on that door once this is done. Let's see what we can do. I've been sanding around here, doing a little block sanding, a little DA, depending on what part. On the flatter parts, I use the DA to save time. I use a block, or I sand it by hand with the, I don't know if you guys know this, if you guys do any body work at all, but you save the pads when the edges wear out from the DA trying to get in the curves. And I use the center of the pad. It's not, you don't throw it away yet. I just didn't know if you knew that. get everything out of it, you can, right? So this is all looking pretty good. Anywhere I went to metal, I've got to put some epoxy primer or etching primer down. This is one of the things I'm dealing with now. This panel, when it was stamped, gets some wrinkles in it. Most of these are sanded out already right there. You can't feel them, you can only see them, because the EDC coating leveled it out when I de-ate it. This here is a little deeper. So I'm going to put some epoxy primer on this, or etching primer. And then I'm going to put filler primer over it so I can sand it again, and these ridges will all be gone. I won't even need any body filler. So that's what I'm doing now. We'll come back when I get that knocked out. My etching primer is brown. It's not going to matter when the high build primer is gray. I want the color inside to look has a little more pop to it, I think, with the gray. So that's why I went to gray. But I'm going to get all the spots that I can see bare metal. Almost took care of it. One more coat of high build. I'm going to start taking this dash apart because I got to detail the dash out, get rid of all the scratches and chips. I'm going to do that really quick before we start on the door. Clip 8. Sprayed a little bit of etching primer on there, so we'll let that dry. I'm going to go ahead and pop out the cluster in the glove box. There should be a couple of Phillips screws on each side. Things are simple back then. 2 Phillips screws facing that way, and then 2 Phillips screws facing this way. I want to say this was a chrome or stainless door box door. You can see where it's peeling here. And I'll tell you what, it might be a little ratty under there, I'm not sure, but we're going to strip the paint off and find out. Because I'd rather have the patinaed chrome door than a red one. Just me, what do you guys think? Now I can get in there. I got my furniture sander. These are handy. They're made for getting in corners and odd places, so I can do everything by hand. And if you were going to take the truck to the next level, you could do this first and then do the finish work by hand or with small blocks and stuff. Sometimes you can break off pieces of paint stirring sticks to get corners and things like that. But that's not what we're doing. I can remember how this turns on. There it is. And you shouldn't jump around like I'm doing right here, but all I'm really doing is I'm seeing a lot of the paint flaking off, and I definitely want to get all the really loose paint off like that, so I'm just going around where I think it might be loose and trying to knock it off, and then I'll go around, make sure I scuff everything. This is a little bit coarse, but this is just the starting point. This is probably about 80 grit, I think. I left it on there from the last time I sanded furniture. Well, that's unfortunate. It's Velcro, no big deal. Might have to grab a new one. I think she's about done for. Gonna have to get in here by hand. Ah, what are you gonna do? Not even a piece of furniture and it still worked. That is ready for some primer. A little more work on this dash. We'll just prime it all at once. She ain't too pretty, but she's ready. I'm going to put some of this etching primer on here. Let that set up. Then I'll put some filler primer on it and give it a sand with finer sandpaper. Make sure there's not going to be any visible scratch marks and sanding marks and stuff. Steering column's getting changed, I don't care about it. I do need the bezel off the cluster. It was only held in by 4 screws, so I just dropped it back into the dash and taped off what I need from it. Anywhere there's bare metal, get some of this primer on it. Actually looks pretty good. I don't know how it looks on camera, but a couple spots that the filling primer, the scratch filling primer will take care of for me. I do have the fans on. I hope they're not too noisy for you guys. It's like 94 degrees today, so fan action it is. The scratch filling primer, I'm going to put on everything. This primer, I'm only going to put on the bare metal. So I'm just looking for anything that looks like bare metal or might be. Bodywork is just as tedious as metal fabrication. I find it a little more rewarding because you're really putting the finishing touches on it and determining how, I'm gonna have to sand that some more, determining how pretty it's gonna look in the final product. So let me get this sprayed up. What I'm doing with the roof is looking for loose paint that'll flake or chip off easily and scuffing it, because it's just going to get a mist of primer and then the color that's going inside. I'm wondering if maybe, if I want to get tricky, I don't know, we'll see how I feel, but depends on how smooth everything else is going along the way. But I might paint this that maroon color and paint the inner panel or headliner part of it in the ivory color that's going to be on the outside. Not really sure yet. You guys tell me what you think, but honestly, it'll probably be more about getting it done, and then I might just do that later, because we got a lot of work to do. Speaking of which, let's get back to it. I didn't film all of the process, but I've been sanding and priming and sanding and priming. That's the 4th time I sanded it. That was with 600. So I think that's about where I'm going to leave it. I'm not, you guys know, I'm not looking for perfection. I just want it to look nice. If it looks good from 5 feet away, happy. I'm just showing you real quick while I'm doing a brake job. We're going to continue on this video tonight after work. See if we can get that dash wiped down and maybe throw some paint on it. I think this thing's ready for the final coat of primer before paint. I've sanded and primed, filler primer, sanded, filler primer, sanded like 3 or 4 times. Got all the bad chips and scratches out of it. This primer is like a sealer primer, professional grade, supposedly. It says it on the can, must be true. But it'll work. I have some Rust-Oleum enamel I was thinking of painting it with, but I might buy a better quality paint and use my spray guns. I have like 4 or 5 different spray guns. Small ones, big ones. I got some door jam guns that's from Mac Tools that spray real nice. Let's get this primer on here real quick. It's gonna happen fast. This is nice primer, actually. It sprays really good. I've never used it before. I wanted to try it. I've heard good things about it, so. It sprays really nice. Pretty impressed with that. Look for any light spots. Let's see where else we got some. Let this cure. Color will be the last thing. Pretty happy with the way that sprays. If you're not doing a complete and utter show car, which you should use a spray gun for, so you can lay the material, you have quite a bit more control with a spray gun. But for a spray can, I mean, it did a nice job. Pretty happy with that. You're gonna let that cure. Next thing will be laying down some paint. All right, we're going with a Colonial Red for the interior. For now, I'm getting the spray can red on everything. Alright guys, I got 1 coat on there. I'm going to let that set up. It's getting a little late. I'm going to get home. I'll probably spray a 2nd coat in the morning when I get here. And I sprayed a little bit on the outside here too. But I think I'm going to do this in that almond color. I haven't really decided yet. Normally on these, the almond color comes down this seam here. And it goes all the way across and comes around here, or comes around just below it. I forget which. I got to look at picture. I think it comes here. Comes down this seam, and then it runs right across here, probably to the windshield. So I might do that. I know the roof's going to be the almond color. I just haven't decided on the rest. You guys tell me what you think. Should I just do the roof in the almond color and leave the red? Or should I go ahead and do something with this line, continuing it around? At least I could even just do some almond and fade it away. And do the roof and then fade it down, kind of like past this. I haven't really decided yet if I'm going to just go past this with something, or it's kind of up in the air. Patina deal, you know. That's how it goes. I'll get a quick clip of it in the morning when I come back and do another coat. I went ahead and sprayed it with the same red. The bright red I wanted to use was like 170 bucks for a quart. So I said the same red will be fine. But what I'm probably going to do is put clear gloss on just the dash and not the rest of it. So we made an executive on-the-fly decision. It's a little blotchy because of the spray cans. Like some of these areas you can see, like on that panel, it looks a little blotchy. The roof's got some blotchiness here and there in the roof. Nothing terrible. For what this truck is, it's probably something I should live with. I'm gonna think about it over my long weekend, and then we'll decide for next week. And now I'm seeing it, well, that's blotchy there. I thought it was a little light, but it looks like it's just a little dry. That's the problem with the spray can. When you're spraying with a spray can, the spray pattern's only about 1.5 inches. And plus it does this as you're spraying. It's not as consistent as a spray gun. So you're trying to overlap without running it everywhere, and you end up with dry and wet spots. That's why a spray can's very sketchy. It's the same material, just doesn't spray quite as nice. Got a little clearer in that dash, and that's about where we're going to end this video. I think that looks pretty good. I'm happy with it compared to what it looked like before. So thanks for watching. Hope it helps you out. Make sure you torque the like button before you head out. See you in the next video. You're awesome.